Good morning everyone. Basa na tayo na ating libro guys. Kapwa ko Filipino, magbasa na tayo na ating history. History of the Filipino people by Agoncillo and Guerrero. Today is 10 February 2023. History of the Filipino people, part 4 na tayo. The American period, topic number 19. The OS-ROX and Quezon missions. Dito na tayo sa paragraph Tydings-McDuffie Law. Tydings-McDuffie Law. Basa. Arriving in the United States in early December 1933, Quezon found that the chances for a better independence law was practically nil. In view of the all too engrossing implementation of the New Deal program to solve the depression problem, Congress and President Roosevelt were ill disposed to revive the Philippine question. Quezon, like a good poker player, proposed different independence plans to diverse groups in Congress. At one point, he declared confidentially that he wanted the Harry-Hawes-Cutting Act to expire quietly because he prepared a dominion status for the Philippines in the future. None of these proposals were considered seriously. Instead, he was flatly told by Senator Millard A. Tydings, chairman of the Senate Committee on Territories and Insular Affairs, that Congress was unwilling to improve the economic provisions or eliminate the other objectionable features of the Harry-Hawes-Cutting Act. Congress, however, was amenable to giving the Filipinos another chance to accept the law by extending its life for 9 more months. The turn of events placed Quezon in a most embarrassing predicament. Having been responsible for the rejection of America's first definite offer of independence, he could not afford to return empty-handed. Consequently, Quezon entered into an agreement against his wishes, to be sure, with Senator Tydings and Representative John McDuffie, chairman of the House Committee on Territories and Insular Affairs, to secure an extension of the life of the Harry-Hawes-Cutting Act. The agreement, dated February 2, 1934, allowed only one amendment to the law, i.e. the elimination of the provision for military bases and other reservations, and the inclusion of the provision permitting the final settlement on naval bases and fueling stations on terms mutually satisfactory to both the United States and the Philippines at the time of the latter's independence. On March 2, President Roosevelt transmitted to Congress a message requesting the passage of a new independence law based on the agreement. The President expresses hopes that the other provisions of the original law need not be changed at this time. Where imperfections or inequalities exist, I am confident that they can be corrected after proper hearing and in fairness to both peoples. Senator Tydings introduced an almost word-for-word restatement of the Harry-Hawes-Cutting Act. The much criticized law was altered to extend its life up to October 17, 1934, thus giving the Philippine legislature another chance to accept the proffer of independence. A new provision for the retention of naval reservations and fueling stations took the place of the rejected provisions for the retention of military and other reservations. The new measure also authorized the President of the United States to negotiate with the Philippine government for the adjustment and settlement of all questions concerning naval bases not later than 2 years after the grant of independence. Representative McDuffie filed a similar bill in the lower house. After some debates, both chambers approved the bill, and on March 24, 1934, President Roosevelt signed it into law. On May 1, the Philippine legislature unanimously approved a resolution accepting the Tydings-McDuffie Law. The resolution made much of Roosevelt's promise to correct imperfections and adjust inequalities in the law at some future time. Why Quezon rejected the Harry-Howe-Scotting Act only to secure its reenactment in 1934 in the form of the Tydings-McDuffie Law, fully aware even before then that no better law was available, can only be understood within the context of Philippine politics and Quezon's temper and ambition. Theodore refrained in his book Between Two Empires, Fathom Question. Theodore refrained in his book Between Two Empires, Fathom Quezon innermost thoughts. Quezon's erratic behavior during the discussion of independence 1929 to 1934 was consistent only in self-interest. He had advanced 3 possible courses of action in his report of November 1931 to the legislature. He had used the 2 most contradictory courses, the Dominion Plan and immediate independence, as basis for criticizing the Harry-Howe-Scotting Act in 1932 to 1933. The third course, independence bill in any form, could be used as rationale for accepting the Tydings-McDuffie Act in 1934. He accepted a compromise that did not comport with his best judgment in order to win his final test with Osmeña and Rojas. Perhaps he consoled himself, confident in his prowess, that he could later have the Tydings-McDuffie Act amended. Instead, he would live the rest of his life with it in discomfort. Quezon knew very well that the acceptance of the Harry-Howe-Scotting Act was tantamount to handing to Osmeña on a silver platter the presidency of the Commonwealth government that was to be established in 1935. His very success in bringing home the Jones Law in 1916, the enactment of which the people thought he had brought about single-handedly, had laid something of a curse on the independence mission sent to the United States. Henceforth, the head of every mission secretly nursed the hope that he might bring home the bacon, fully aware that that would earn him power and popularity, if not the prime position in the government that would be established in accordance with the independence law. Familiar with this prevailing political psychology of the Filipinos, Quezon was not disposed to surrender his position to Osmeña. To do so, after enjoying undisputed control of the party machinery and the government since 1921, would be to revert to the role of second fiddle, a role that Quezon obviously did not relish. With the passage of the Tydings-McDuffie Law and its subsequent ratification by the Philippine legislature, Quezon won a total victory over his opponents and retained supreme leadership over the Nacionalista Party and the government. The overwhelming victory of the Partido Nacionalista Consolidado, the party headed by Quezon, in the elections of June 4, 1935, confirmed beyond question Quezon's leadership. Osmeña and Rojas and the Partido Nacionalista Pro Consolidado, which they founded, suffered a severe trouncing in the elections. Of the 11 seats in the Senate which were contested, they won only 3, and the 89 elective members in the lower house, they won only 19. Only 4 out of the 48 provincial governors elected were Osmeñistas or pro candidates. Tingnan ko lang guys kung mahaba rin kasunod na paragraph ha. Kung hindi bukas na to. Bukas na to guys. Yung the framing of the Constitution. So lagyan na natin to for February 11, 2023. Bye everyone. God bless.